All right, welcome back. Harmless Dave here. Talking about all of this nonsense and BS and the fact that our country seems to care about other countries more than it cares about its own country. For you people on the Trump side of things, what happened to America first? How is this in our best interest? Can someone explain that to me? How's that going to help people here, at home who are struggling to make ends meet in an absolutely just horrific economy, which by the old metrics, the inflation rate is about 15%. By today's doctored and different metrics, which omit stuff, it's about 8%, 7.9%. That's what we're looking at. So with those conditions in place, why is it a really cool and groovy thing to support Ukraine? Okay, and let's just leave the whole who's right or who's wrong, like, oh, it's Russia's fault, so we need to support Ukraine. Yes, okay, if you're going to take that sort of rudimentary approach to it, why are we getting involved? How about the NATO countries that are in the region? Why can't they be shelling out billions of dollars and sending weapons and sending their resources? Why don't they invest in stopping Russia, right? I think a lot of them are beholden to Russia for energy and for food, like wheat, which is going to become scarce very quickly. And I think they're just looking at, hey, Germany first or France first or whatever. But America and this whole America First agenda, which I like a lot of it, seems to completely forget about this idea that it can't be America first if it's some other country first. Or if you're investing all of this time, energy, rhetoric, resources, gaslighting, the media presence, the footprint. Look what happened over the last 2 years and how the residual effect of that is still continuing. We may have switched narratives, but a lot of people don't care about foreign policy, and they're still wearing their oxygen inhibitor on a beautiful sunny day with a nice breeze blowing out of the southwest, and they're still walking around by themselves with one of these contraptions on their face. And why are they doing that? Because it was really effective. Not what they're wearing, but what the media did for the past 2 years. That was really effective. Wasn't very safe, but it was effective. Now, what's troubling to me is that there is a narrative out there that really needs to be explored. Like what happened in the Ukraine over the last 7 or 8 years, and then you had John McCain there. John McCain's foreign policy is now in effect. McCain went there and basically set up a proxy, said, you know what, this is a great way for us to keep tabs on Putin. I don't care who I support. I don't know what a neo-Nazi is. I'm just here because Ukraine, and there are a lot of great people in Ukraine, and there are a lot of great people who don't live in Donbass who live in Ukraine. But you know what? When you live under some kind of an authoritarian dictatorship, you tend to be quieter. You tend to live within the regime because you don't want to, upset the old apple cart. You just want to live and mind your own business. And the people of Donbass, what was their crime? They spoke Russian. They didn't conform to what the western part of that country was all about. They felt more aligned with Russia to the north. All of those things instigated this particular place in history we're at now, plus John McCain. I'm not letting McCain off the hook. I know he's dead. He died in 2018, like August of 2018. Seems like it was just yesterday, but his foreign policy is still here. And Joe Biden loves that foreign policy. Obviously, Lindsey Graham Mitt Romney, all of these people who are still with us from an outdated era in politics in general. These people need to be put out to pasture, all of them. By the way, I'm not advocating what Lindsey Graham is advocating for Vladimir Putin. I'm just saying they need to retire. They need to be voted out. They need to be shamed. They need to be ridiculed. They need to be presented with facts of the other side of the equation. I mean, the fact that you're a sitting senator and you've always been a neoliberal and you're going to continue to be a neoliberal, you don't care what people say about you. That's why Lindsey Graham did not have a good relationship with Donald Trump, because Trump wasn't buying some of this stuff. And most Americans now are completely onto this. Like, we're really going to continue all of these neoliberal policies. We're going to continue to bankrupt our country and weaken the dollar. By the way, folks, if Russia, India, and China wipe their hands, do this to the US dollar, it's kind of over for us. You're going to see massive inflation. You're going to see the currency just be worth almost nothing. And more people are going to get into Bitcoin. And I don't know how the dollar survives, because the dollar right now is being backed by a regime that wants to go around the world and tell other countries how to resolve their differences, or support countries in a way that, again, puts some kind of virtue signal or moral standing into the equation. But quite honestly, what we do know is this: the United States has its own blood on its hands from so many conflicts. Let's just start with Iraq. That's the biggest one. But over the years, you've had Syria and Somalia and Afghanistan. You've had all these places where American soldiers have died, but tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people from these countries have died in the wake of US foreign policy. Why is that not important to most Americans? Why do Americans do this selective editing where they say, okay, well, yeah, what we did, in Iraq was bad, but Saddam had no weapons of mass destruction. Saddam may have been a dictator and he may have been a jerk to his own people, but that's what I call self-determination. Just let that play out. And if it's really crappy, the people will, definitely rise up. And that's when you maybe support people logistically, but you don't just go in there. And I don't even know if I agree with what I just said. I don't even know if I want to support any group of people logistically. I just want to stay out of these things. But I would understand, hey, these people, they're trying to overthrow their evil dictator, and it's legitimate. It's not us doing it. But because we've cried wolf so many times, I'm at the point where I don't know if the US is telling the truth. I don't know if it's as bad as they say it is, say, in Venezuela or Ukraine or wherever we have to go in, Syria, wherever we have to go in and make it right. US foreign policy right now is like the steroid that just keeps, building the thing up, and there's no way for the common man to grab onto that and say, you know what, this has got to stop. It's just too big. It's too massive. Plus you've got all of the military contractors. And what do? They lobby. They have whole lobbying departments. And what this does for those people, the speculation, are we going to get into the airspace of Ukraine with our own planes? Are we going to sponsor other countries to do it? Either way, you're poking the bear, and it looks a lot like World War III. And there are a lot of people out there that don't understand the complexity of this. And quite honestly, it's not something we should do. But this is exactly what John McCain wanted. And the fact that he's no longer here doesn't excuse his ideology, which for some reason hasn't been discredited, debunked, and, placed on the ash heap of history. John McCain has basically, sowed all of those things that have now come to fruition. He has put into play all of these bad ideas, and he's got Lindsey Graham as his advocate here on planet Earth, wherever McCain is currently residing. We know that Lindsey Graham is his proxy here on planet Earth. And the more I hear that guy talk, the more I wonder who's paying him. Why do South Carolinians continue to vote for this? Even, if you're a real conservative, Lindsey Graham isn't that. If you're somebody who's independent or libertarian minded, please run against Lindsey Graham and get him out of there, because this is just, it's beyond the pale what we are suffering, because some people have some kind of a complex when it comes to Putin. I don't think Putin is the worst person in the world. I know a lot of people will say, you're just an apologist, keep carrying his water. I watch your other channel, but you just keep carrying his water. Here's the water I want to carry. I'd like to carry the water of the United States. And if I'm carrying that water, what that means is we do things in the interest of this country, right? We don't just squander our liberty and our freedom to go and support another country because they're in turmoil. We are not the world's policemen. We should not be doing these things. It's bankrupting the country. It's hurting our standard of living. It's hurting our life expectancy. And you all just, you have to take a side. You have to have your little flag. You have to just parrot what the media says you need to. Were they right the last 2 years? Was the media right about what we just went through? Which everybody's now kind of like, here's a rug. Let's just sweep it under. No, the media, by the way, the media needs to be held accountable for that, as does the medical community, as does every single hospital in the United States that was using the Fauci protocol. Every single one of them needs to be held accountable. And I'm just sick and tired of people just, I'm just going to blindly follow. Who trolled everybody like nobody's business was Elon Musk. I support what's next. And non-playable character. It was perfect. I think I probably mentioned that in the last video. Look, we're not, blameless in anything that we do. And this has been foreign policy now for at least 50 years, if not longer. Since Vietnam, I would say. Kennedy warned us. Eisenhower warned us. And what did we decide to do? Well, we're America's superpower. And we just want to spread democracy all over the world. And Ukraine, they're a democracy. And so we have to support them, even though they kill a lot of their own citizens, 14,000 of which since, 8 years now. And people are just like, but Ukraine and Putin bad. And yeah, I don't like Putin starting a war. I don't like this. You think I like people dying? It's heartbreaking. These two countries have a lot in common. So this is kind of like a civil war in a way. But then you've got the whole neo-Nazi thing, which again, here in the West, nobody talks about it because it's forbidden. Is it real or is it not? Well, I've seen some articles. Well, yeah, technically there are some neo-Nazis there, but they're in the government. They're in the government. That's what's different about it. They're not just a bunch of fringe loons that meet at Denny's, 3 times a year to talk about how much they love Hitler or something like that. These are real impactful leaders in Ukraine. And all of the attacks on Donbass right now, because they're happening, but nobody knows because nobody's reporting. And probably what the media would report is that Russia attacked Donbass, right? Russia would never do that. It's the people in the West that are doing it, Western Ukraine. So in any event, the ghost of John McCain apparently has more power than American citizens who have been brainwashed into thinking that This is the next thing, the next virtuous thing. And every time I go to a website, they have a link, support the people of Ukraine. Where the hell is that money going to go? Where is the accountability for where that's going to go? I mean, if you decide to click on that link, God help you. And number 2 on that is, do you have enough money for food? Do you have enough money for gas in your house? What about your electric bill, your heating bill? What are you doing? What do you do it from a selfish standpoint? What about your family? What about the future with 15% inflation? What about that? Are you prepared for what's coming? Oh yeah, I'm willing to pay more for gas. It's going to get worse. The gas is just one aspect of this. That ripples to every other thing. Wake up, people. You're not America first. You're, I don't know, Ukraine first. You're NATO first. You're NATO. And you know what? I'm sorry. I'm not NATO first. NATO can kiss my ass. All right. We are in these global institutions. The EU. Oh, we've got to sign a treaty with this country. You know what we need to sign a treaty with? Just sign a treaty with the American people that you're going to try to work on the problems. And there are a lot of problems in this country. The inner cities are collapsing with crime and homelessness and all these different elements. And what do? We're going to send money to Ukraine? No, call me selfish. I don't really want to send my money to foreign countries again, period. Can we get our own house in order? And then maybe, just maybe, if somebody truly needs help and they're not neo-Nazis, that yeah, maybe I'd be willing to go and assist them or say, yeah, I could see us giving some money to these countries. But nah, I don't think that's a good idea. Overall, in general, I think it should be a policy that we just do away with. So in any event, I wanted to throw out a video about John McCain, 2013, meeting with these people saying, your fight is our fight? No, it's not our fight. This is warmongering, globalist foreign policy, which has actually been the main catalyst to put this country $30 trillion in debt and to completely put the dollar in a place where it may not be the dominant currency in the world anymore. There's a very high probability of that with both Russia, India, and actually add China. And do they need the dollar? I don't think so. I don't think they need the dollar. And then, of course, there's crypto, which could just wipe everything out, which I hope it does. I just need to understand it better, as do many people. But folks, this is it. We are at the precipice, thanks to a guy who's no longer living, but a man who did a lot of bad things in the name of his neoconservative foreign policy and his hatred for Vladimir Putin. And again, am I saying Putin is a saint? No. But compared to what? Compared to which leader? Is a saint, Joe Biden? I don't think so. I mean, you've got to figure this stuff out yourself. But I'm not a shill. I'm not a puppet. Nobody's paying me to say these things. I wish they were paying me, because if I'm going to say it, at least I could get paid for it. The point is, I'm just going out there because nobody else is willing to do it. There are a few outlets. Kudos to Jimmy Dore for doing some really great content lately. Tucker Carlson, who took on this neoconservative congresswoman last night and made her look like a complete idiot. I mean, we need more of this stuff, but it's just not the prevailing thing. The only way we make it the prevailing thing is if we support it, we applaud it, and we call it out when it's not the good, wholesome, decent thing that we are hoping for, which is, worry about this country first. And again, you can support this channel, Patreon. Go to Patreon. There's a link on the banner of this channel. You can do $1 a month, $2 a month, whatever it is you can afford. Whatever it is, I'll appreciate it. And until next time, thank you very much. And yeah, we'll see you soon.